Hello, my name is Bianca Rodriguez,
My name's Sanvi Lamba.
My name's Madison Literal.
And my name is Samantha Cecita.
and our presentation is about the self-determination theory, which is a framework for the study of human motivation and related personality characteristics. The publication we decided to use is titled Exercise, Physical Activity, and Self-Determination Theory, a Systematic Review. It was written by Texeria and other colleagues in 2012. It talks about how self-determination theory is used in real-life situations by showing how people start and continue with physical activity. The self-determination theory uses a few core constructs. First is competence, which is for the most part all about the environment. It's the feeling of being effective in your environment and being good at something that's important to you. Second is autonomy, which is being wholeheartedly behind the things you're doing and feeling that one's choices are self-driven without orders of other people. Next, there's relatedness, and that is a sense of belonging and that you matter. It includes both how people care for you and how you care for others. Finally, this theory can also include motivation, which is central to all behavior theories. It is a drive that determines how someone behaves or acts.
So the problem within this publication is that only a small amount of adults nowadays report engaging in physical exercise at a level that's compatible with most public health guidelines. A few statistics within Western countries include in the US, less than 50% of adults are considered regularly physically active, and in Canada, data shows that only 15% of adults meet national physical activity recommendations. 2009 data shows that on a typical week, 60% of adults in Europe engaged in no physical exercise or sports. And approximately 40% of Europeans agreed with the statement, being physically active does not really interest me. I would rather do other things with my spare time. These findings suggest that many people lack sufficient motivation to participate in the 150 minutes of moderately intense exercise or physical activity per week recommended. The population within this article consisted of adults ages 25 to 65, both male and female from Western cultures, and included a range of health populations of healthy individuals, those with chronic disease, those obese or overweight, those who were regular exercisers, and those who weren't regular exercisers. The article included 72 independent surveys across 66 case studies. Some inclusions were non-athletic samples. Outcomes included exercise, physical activity behaviors, reported direct associations between self-determination variables and physical activity outcomes, and adult samples. Those that were excluded were studies that didn't include SDT or physical activity variables, non-adult samples, competitive athletes, or reported achievement or performance outcomes related to physical education classes. So the intervention or program design of this article, they conducted a systematic review on 66 previous studies that addressed the connections between self-determination theory-based constructs or interventions and health outcomes. They included 10 experimental, 42 cross-sectional, 11 prospective, and 3 mixed design studies. 5 variables were analyzed as exercise predictors with expected relationships. And from the figure, you can see that the need supportive exercise settings interactions were included, as well as exercise casualty orientations and exercise goals slash participation motives, which led to exercise related need satisfaction, then leads to exercise motivations slash regulations, which ultimately leads to the exercise behavior being adopted and maintained. This data was evaluated by sample characteristics, motivational predictors, instruments of assessment, exercise-related outcomes, research designs, and statistical methods used to test these associations. This data was used to better understand self-determination theory constructs and types of regulation or motivation that best promotes exercise behavior.
So for the behavior theory constructs that were used and applied, we kind of touched on this before, but it included competence, which in this study, perceived competence was shown to be connected with physical activity. In terms of autonomy, gender differences were found and reported, and the increases in perceived autonomy, support, and self-reported exercise was only in women. And as for relatedness, there were social support mechanisms that were mentioned and to promote exercise behavior, which included group exercise settings and supportive coaching. And as for the measurement of these behavior theory constructs, we had several different instruments that were used. Some to note was the perceived competence scale, behavior regulation and exercise questionnaire, intrinsic motivation inventory, and 7-day physical activity recall, amongst others on the slide. And then there were many sample items. Some of this was like to show as I like exercise because it's fun from the BRQ scale. And my instructor provides choices and options from the HCCQ scale. So you can see kind of like the instructor one can show, for example, relatedness because there's that supportive coaching being seen. And the outcomes that were measured was levels of physical activity and exercise behavior, motivation, extrinsic versus intrinsic, and exercise adherence. Some of the secondary outcomes was psychological well-being, intention to continue exercising, exercise satisfaction, and social support.
So when looking at the results from this study, there was a found positive correlation between autonomous or self-driven motivation and a higher percentage of exercise participation. The individuals in the study who exercise have motivation that's based on identified regulation or IR, which means that these individuals have personal goals that they're trying to reach, and intrinsic motivation, which is enjoyment-based motivation. People with IR are more likely to experience a short-term adoption, which means that it helps kickstart the exercise routine, rather than people with IM are more likely to keep up with the wellness routine. Instead of just starting it, they're likely to continue it. The study also looked at feeling confident and competent, and the individual's abilities also increased exercise participation. And some varying results when it came to motives was looking at health or fitness versus body appearance or image. Also, internal guilt or pressure confused the role of exercise, and introjected regulation looked at statements like, I should go to the gym, otherwise I won't feel good about myself. And the interpretation of the results and the overall discussion was that the study highlighted the importance of the self-determination theory when it comes to overall comprehension of people's behavior towards exercise. Autonomous motivation shows strides in increased levels of physical activity. Intrinsic motivation and identified regulation both were types of motivations that showed those increased levels of physical activity. If people have choices and are motivated by personal achievements and enjoy their workouts and what they're doing, we will see higher levels of engagement. There are some mixed results surrounding the types of motivation for exercise. For example, avoiding guilt, body image, body appearance, obtaining the expectations of society, etc. For the public health impact, motivation is a key factor in continuing that behavior. When people work out because they want to, we look at long-term behavior. When people work out because they have to, there's short-term behavior, and they're likely just to kickstart it versus the long-term behavior that continues it. Autonomous confidence building and the feeling of belonging is what some people need for the programs. Helping people gain confidence in being healthy instead of just telling them that they need to take action is also important. And that's our presentation. Thank you.